Hello, welcome to my weekly vlog, Debra, Keirce Art Journey. Today I want to show you how to make a wet paint carrier that you can actually use, as I'm going to, for shipping materials to, or paintings to places that are hot, like Charleston in Florida, where I often ship things. Basically, it's a wet paint carrier though, because you can take your painting and slide it into the box and it won't touch anything. There's an air gap in here, okay? It's made out of duct tape, because everything works when you use duct tape, right? And it's made out of foam core. That's all you need. And a couple of other supplies I'll show you here in a minute. And then when you're done, it's got this little cover here. You just put a little rubber band around it and you're good to go. The painting is not going to touch, the surface of the painting is not going to touch anything inside here. Okay, so this is what I did, or what I do. First you have to, and this is the hardest part, you have to do a good job of measuring. These T-squares help, your piece, and using your scissors obviously, or a cutting board. I have just a Office Max type cutting board that I purchased here, and it's got both a scorer, that's this gray one that just makes like a little bump in it, and also a actual cutter here. So you can either score or cut the little flap that I showed you that covers this box, but we'll get to that in a minute. What you want to do is you want to measure and cut your two outside pieces of your box, the top and the bottom, and then the sides. Easy enough, right? One thing you want to remember is that when you cut the end piece, because one piece is going to be solid and another piece is going to be that little scored piece that I talked about that flaps over to close the box. That's really just more decorative and to keep dust out. But this piece on the bottom here, the piece that is solid and on the bottom, this requires some measurement because this piece needs to fit inside the outside walls. So in other words, if you're taking this, see what happens here? You've got an extra quarter inch or so because you have the width of the foam core to contend with. But that's the hardest part of this project, measuring these all out. Then what you want to do is you want to measure two little strips that fit inside the box that you're going to tape on with your AVG gun. If you don't have one of these, you should. They're great, double-sided tape. Or you could just use double-sided tape or glue. But you want to make sure that these are really secure in there. So when you tape this in, what I like to do, in addition to taping them in, is, let's say this is my box here, I also put a little bit of packing tape on the end here to make sure that both ends are secure. So even if your glue melts on a hot day, it's not going anywhere. And when you apply these little strips, just like in a wet paint carrier, you want to make sure that there's a gap between where your painting is going to sit and this strip, because ideally when you're transporting it, you will lay it flat and even the edges won't be banging up against the strip. But you need room for it to slide in, but you need a little teeny bit of a gap there for it to wiggle around, and in case the foam core swells, it doesn't cause it so you can't get your painting in and out. That's about all that you need to do. Once you assemble it, then I like to put duct tape all around it, not just for aesthetic purposes, but also because it keeps all these sides in place. I assemble it initially with packing tape and then I just wrap it in duct tape to keep it solid. Okay? And then as I showed you, I put a little rubber band on to keep that little flap down. You're good to go. Homemade wet paint carrier or storage container or shipping container.